Hello, I'm Jashykins, and welcome to yet another vlog review, this time of the walking episode, Them. One sort of big nerdy thing that happened this episode, and why am I apologizing for being nerdy? I do vlogs on YouTube and I run a blog. I should not be saying, oh, it's nerdy like it's a bad thing. But anyways, Rick finally explains the meaning of the show. Now, I haven't read the comics. That's on my long to read list. But I have heard from comic book readers since I think the end of season 1 and maybe part of season 2. Maybe like the beginning of season 2, at around that time. Like I've known that The Walking Dead refers to the survivors and, not the zombies, walkers, whatever you want to call them. And I wasn't expecting this to ever be brought up in the show. I mean, we've gone around 5 seasons of this show and no mention of that. But Rick gives this little story about how his father, or grandfather, I think a grandfather, sort of dealt with surviving the war by thinking that he was already dead. And so Rick says we should sort of use that same concept and call ourselves, the Walking Dead. That's what we are, as a survival mechanism. And if no one else had been in the house, because watching it late at night, I would have probably fucking shouted, "He said it!" And I bet all of you who knew the actual meaning of the title and or read the comics probably just shouted and shit your pants. Because yeah, that shit happened. And not to spoil anything from the comics, I looked up a little bit just to make sure this character wasn't another name for the same character from the comic. Like the character from the comic has 2 names. Didn't turn out to be the case, but I learned just a tiny bit, but I didn't spoil myself too much because I don't want to do that. I mean, not unless I read the comics myself will I be purposefully spoiling myself for the show. But Aaron arrives, and from what I could look up from my sort of spoilery, non-spoilery search, that Aaron, is, I guess, from this storyline that sort of, mind you, I don't really know what it is, but it seems like it does sort of fit the showrunner's promise that The Walking Dead is going to go up a few notches. Like, at the start of season 4, they promised that it's going to seem sort of nice, but it's going to get dark. It's going to go, what the fuck am I watching? And so when they're promising going even, darker, you listen, because that is probably the truth. And the storyline that Aaron is involved in, I think, involves Negan, and I don't really know who he is, and no one say about it in the comments, that he's like the worst villain in the Walking Dead comics. So this storyline is probably going to get really, really fucked, which means it's probably going to get really, really awesome. So the showrunner saying that things are really going to get fucked up. Yes! So, yeah. And I mean, even when Aaron arrives, and even if you don't know anything about the comics, basically like me when I saw the episode, you sort of knew that this is someone not to be trusted. I mean, in the post-apocalyptic world, you don't trust people on principle, but he's like all clean and tidy. He's like, hey, hi. It's like, might be something to worry about. And I will say, finally for today, I will say that the walkers attacking the barn really did seem like a dream. Me and my fiance, we thought it was a dream. Not because of what happened outside. I mean, as other people have explained, that like that shit can happen with tornadoes. They can be really destructive, but for some fucking reason they won't really damage one part. The reason I thought it was a dream was because it definitely seems sort of dreamlike with the walkers coming in the rain. It seems like some fucking nightmare. And then as they're, pushing up against the door to keep the walkers from getting in, Maggie is shown waking up like a close-up to the face, which seems to be an indication that what we just saw wasn't real. But then exiting the barn, you see all the destruction. So yeah, and people on the IMDb boards were seeming to definitely be in agreement that the barn thing did happen. And on The Talking Dead, the show that follows The Walking Dead, they all seem to agree that it actually happened, talking about how Gabrielle reacted. So yeah. My final thoughts for The Walking Dead episode Them. This was a really fucking good episode. I am sort of thrilled that no one of our main characters died, because the mid-season finale had Beth die, and then Tyrese died last episode, aka the mid-season premiere. So I was just like, none of our main guests died. Yeah! And I did like that they really did show surviving the zombie apocalypse. When things are going great, they go really shitty. They eat dogs. And I'm just wondering, all of you who are more affected at the dogs being in than humans eating humans. I am a huge animal lover, but still. And I have been Jashykins, owner at jashykins.blogspot.com. If you go to my blog, you can see vlog reviews like these. And I'm sorry if they won't be in as great amount as usual, just because, long story short, getting to watching my TV shows now can sometimes mean I'll have to catch up for 2 or 3 weeks. And so I only like to put vlog reviews out of an episode a week at most. Like, when an episode airs, I don't do a review of the episode if I haven't already. I'm going to get a whole collection of all the chapters of the latest section of SNN together, so yay. My friend Trey, one of my enablers, any of you who have enjoyed my one-shots, you can sometimes thank her, sometimes thank Omar. And since Trey has finally gotten access to a microphone, a special episode of Josh Talks is, now can happen. But the thing is, I sort of had things scheduled, and so I'm going to discuss with Omar, my co-host, about sort of changing the schedule up, because I've been like really excited about this happening for months, like maybe for half a year. I was like, we're going to do this, and she finally has a mic. Yes! And if you go on my blog, on the side you can see links to other places I am on the web, and you can say hi. You can also see a link to a writing shop, and Dragon, that you can name, and you can advertise your blog, Etsy shop, YouTube channel, whatever, for a few weeks, a random time frame. So yeah, and if you draw dragons and you want to advertise whatever on my blog, there's now a link on the sidebar thingy, so you can look that up. Basically, you can read all of it because I don't have time, and this is like the ending part to video, so I can't exactly go over every single detail. You'll just have to read it. Artists wanted for upcoming something or another, I think the title is. I'd have to double check. And if you notice, there's links to buy stuff off Amazon at the bottom of each of my blog posts, the majority of them. If you want to help support the blog, and say you see this episode and you're like, basically whatever I talk about in a post, I'll put a link to some product on Amazon that reflects it. Like if I'm talking about 50 Shades of Grey, any one of the books from those trilogy, and you're like, oh, that can't be as bad as she's saying, you can, buy 50 Shades from Amazon, like that stuff. And, if I get enough money, I will start paying my co-hosts, because Keytor and Omar have done an amazing job. And finally, if you're watching this on YouTube, the link in the description is a link to donate your account, and if you click on the link and donate your Twitter and or Facebook accounts to my campaign, thank you very much, and until next video. I've been going on forever. Goodbye.